All right, little bit of breaking news. Well, not really breaking news, but it does affect the draft in a few ways. We'll talk about that. But ESPN's Jeremy Fowler just reported that the Cowboys could have interest in trading for New England Patriots backup Joe Milton. So, how do we feel about Joe Milton, guys? And here's kind of the report. Brandon Laurie, I think he's with Blogging of the Boys. He does great work. He's reporting that the Cowboys would have interest. He's reporting that Jeremy Fowler is reporting. He's reporting that Jeremy Fowler said on ESPN that the Cowboys would have interest in Joe Milton. Interesting development here because I do think that the Cowboys want to bring in a backup quarterback, a younger backup quarterback. Zach did a great video on just the Cowboys' options at quarterback. Do we think a fifth round pick or some fifth round option, more or less, would be able to come in if Dak did get hurt, which Dak has gotten hurt? I wouldn't say a lot, but obviously the crazy ankle break was terrible. But then, this year, routine play out for the year. Cooper Rush gone. Wasn't even a lot of money that Baltimore gave him. It was just like, I don't know if I want to be here anymore. And so in that, it's one of those things that we think about and we say, man, you may have to think about bringing in a guy like Joe Milton if you don't want to use a third round, second round, it's kind of rich, top 100 pick. But the problem is this: what are you going to have to give up for one Joe Milton? What are you going to have to give up for one Joe Milton? You're probably going to have to give up what you would use on a backup. Let's say, for example, you wanted to get Quinn Ewers in here. His agents, they're driving the price up with some of the narrative that he could be tied to. He could be tied to. He could be tied to the Cowboys, which I don't think that he is. I think that's kind of like minutia. But what if you wanted to get a Jackson Dart in here? You're at the very least spending a second round pick on Dart, and that's if he falls. What about Jalen Milroe? Again, second round pick on Milroe if he falls. So the QB tax is a real tax. I don't know, for me, if a third round pick is too rich for a guy who, if Dak does get hurt, you have a guy who can at least play good football, who can at least, he showed something. Now, we got to talk about who Joe Milton is. Joe Milton was a guy who never lived up to who he was supposed to be at Tennessee. I believe, if you guys want to check this, where did Joe Milton start out? He started his career. Joe Milton started at Ohio State, couldn't get on it at Ohio State, couldn't get on the field at Ohio State. It kind of never hit. And then, if I believe, it's been a while since I covered Joe Milton. Let me see, Joe Milton, Ohio State. It's been a while since I covered Joe Milton. He transferred. Let's look at where Joe Milton. No, he started at Michigan. That's where he was at. So he was at Michigan. I knew he was a Big Ten team. He started at Michigan. It never hit at Michigan. He couldn't get on the field. It just wasn't a good fit. He goes to Tennessee, and he was okay. But the one thing that Joe Milton does have is a very, very strong arm. And then this year, against the Bills, and let's be honest, garbage time. Actually, I was looking at some Kyer Elam film, and he was on that film. He was throwing the ball. Then this report comes out that he might be in. He might be on the Cowboys' radar, and I think for good reason. You see Elam out there in the Bills, and they're playing soft coverage. It's week 17. But there were and are Patriots fans who, yes, they love Drake May. They know he's the future, but Joe Milton had that kind of backup, I don't know, fan base, where it's like, how the Cowboys had that Cooper Rush fan base where everything that Cooper Rush did, he's like, see, Dak never made a throw like that. And it's like, nah, he isn't the guy. But there were fans of the Patriots who said, hey, I don't know if he's better than Drake May, but right now he looks a little bit more polished and he looks more ready than Drake May. So you had some of that going on. I think the one thing that you can hang your hat on with Joe Milton is he has an NFL arm. Probably right now has a stronger arm than Dak. He just doesn't do quarterback things better than Dak. But his arm, he has an elite arm. And not the talent isn't so much elite, it's really like the arm strength. Like the dude could probably throw the ball 100 yards. That's what he did at the combine. Like that's his calling card. I thought that when I watched him, I cut up a few games and I kind of show those again. When I watched him at Washington, I was like, I mean, excuse me, when he played against Washington in the preseason, when he played against, what else did he play against? A few other games, like the first game of the year. You saw some things in Milton. It's like, this is interesting. Like he's doing some football things. And I think that's where, because when Drake May was out there, the game looked kind of fast. And the game didn't look so fast for Joe Milton. And again, he just has a whip of an arm. If nothing else, you're buying the arm talent, you're buying the arm strength, and you're buying that he comes in, sits behind Dak, and can learn. And oh, by the way, the Cowboys don't have a backup. And I don't think they want to go the old hag route, like the old has been. If they were going to do that, they should have just brought Cooper Rush back. They didn't do that. They didn't bring Cooper Rush back. And I think that this is, at the very least, an interesting development. Now, will they sign him? What's the price? I don't know, but I think it's worth talking about because it does affect the draft, because I believe you're going to have to give up draft picks for Milton. So what would you guys think about Joe Milton being on the Cowboys, and what would you give up? Again, if you want to get a Milroe, a Dart, one of those second tier quarterbacks of Tyler Shuck. I'm not really a fan of Shuck. I think that he has feet. Oh, that's the last point about Milton. Milton did a better, like, I didn't see him do this at Tennessee. Obviously, Tennessee's offense, Heupel, quick game, 1-2 catch, like that Hendon Hooker. It was just like those wide splits from the receivers. So, but one thing that I saw with the Patriots in the time that he did get, he was able to climb the pocket. He was a decent creator. I do not want a statue back there. Whoever's going to be the backup, you are not allowed to be a statue. You're not. So that's one of these second tier, third tier quarterbacks, you're going to get them in the fifth. Is he better than those guys? And what would you guys give up to get a guy who you think has better potential or upside or a higher ceiling than one of those guys? As always, it's your boy Foots the King. Just a quick one on this good Saturday. I hope you guys are enjoying it. Got a loaded week for you all. All right. I love you all. Peace.